And now it's my pleasure to introduce our Joy Ambassadors for this Thursday, Dave and Judy Nass, who live at Cornelia House. Welcome.
Hello. I am just going to do the introduction, and Dave is going to read one of our favorite poems for winter. It's written by Robert W. Service. He was born in 1874 of Scottish descent. He came to North America as a young man, and he worked as a bank clerk. When his bank sent him to the Yukon, he lived in Whitehorse, which was a frontier town then. He arrived soon after the Klondike Gold Rush, and he heard fascinating tales from that time. The stories he heard inspired him to write some of his most popular poems, and here is one.
Good morning. The cremation of Sam McGee. There are strange things done in the midnight sun by men who moil for gold. The Arctic trails have their secret tales that would make your blood run cold. The Northern Lights have seen queer sights, but the queerest they ever did see was the night on the marge of Lake LaBarge. I cremated Sam McGee. Now, Sam McGee was from Tennessee, where the cotton blows and blooms. Why he left his home in the South to roam around the pole, God only knows. He was always cold, but the land of gold seemed to hold him like a spell. Though he'd often say in his homely way, he'd sooner live in hell. On a Christmas day, we were mushing our way over the Dawson Trail. Talk of your cold. Through the parka's fold, it stabbed like a driven nail. If our eyes we'd closed, then the lids still froze, till sometimes we couldn't see. It wasn't much fun, but the only one to whimper was Sam McGee. And that very night, as we lay packed tight in our robes beneath the snow, and the dogs were fed and the stars overhead were dancing heel and toe, he turned to me and he said, "Cap, I'll cash in this trip, I guess. And if I do, I'm asking that you won't refuse my last request." Well, he seemed so low that I couldn't say no. He says with a sort of a moan, "It's the cursed cold. It's got right hold till I'm chilled through the bone. Yet, 'tain't being dead, it's my awful dread of the icy grave that remains. So I want you to swear that fair or foul, you'll cremate my last remains." A pal's last need is a thing indeed. So I swore I would not fail. And we started on that streak of dawn, but God, he looked ghastly pale. He crouched on the sleigh and he raved of his home in Tennessee. And before nightfall, a corpse was all that was left of Sam McGee. There wasn't a breath in that land of death, and I hurried, horror-driven, with a corpse half hid that I couldn't get rid because of a promise given. It was lashed to the sleigh, and it seemed to say, "You may tax your brawn and brains, but you promised true, and it's up to you to cremate these last remains." Now a promise made is a debt unpaid, and a trail has its own stern code. In the days to come, though my lips were dumb, in my heart how I cursed that load. In the long, long night by the lone firelight, while the huskies, round in a ring, howled out their woes to the homeless snows. Oh God, how I loathe that thing. And every day that quiet lay seemed to heavier and heavier grow. And on I went, and the dogs were spent, and the grub was getting low. The trail was bad, and I felt half mad, but I swore I would not give in. And it often sing to that hateful thing, and it hearkened with a grin. Till I came to the marge of Lake LaBarge, and a derelict there lay. It was jammed in the ice, but I saw in a trice it was the Alice May. And I looked at it, and I thought a bit, and I looked at my frozen chum. Then here, said I, with a sudden cry, is my crematorium. Then I made a hike, for I didn't like to hear him sizzle so. And the heavens scowl, and the huskies howl, and the wind began to blow. It was icy cold, but the hot sweat rolled down my cheeks, and I don't know why. And the greasy smoke in an inky cloak went streaking to the sky. I do not know how long I lay in this restless fear, but the stars came out and they danced about ere I ventured near. I was sick with dread, but I bravely said, I'll take a peep inside. I guess he's cooked, and it's time I looked. And then the door I opened wide. And there sat Sam, looking cool and calm in the heart of the furnace roar. And he wore a smile you could hear from smile. And then he said, please close that door. I'm fine in here, but I greatly fear you'll let in the cold and the storm. Since I left Plum Tree down in Tennessee, it's the first time I've been warm. By the men who moil for gold, the Arctic trails have their secret tales. It would make your blood run cold. The Northern Lights have seen queer sights, but the queerest they ever did see was the night on the marge of Lake LaBarge. I cremated Sam McGee.